ahead and click on start recording. Okay. So once again, good afternoon, everyone. And I'm sure that today all of us are very excited because just after, after 4 hours of this webinar, we have India versus West Indies semifinal. You guys are excited about that? Come on, all of us are excited about this match. Are you guys excited about that match, guys? Great. Yeah, so I'm also excited, and it is good to have a good learning before a good match. So let us make sure that we are learning something which we can use in real project, which would help us understanding other JavaScript libraries and frameworks, and increasing our productivity in day-to-day work. So the topic which we selected for today's webinar is very simple. We are only going to talk on objects and inheritance in JavaScript. We would be looking into how objects can be constructed and how inheritance can be done in JavaScript. So that's the topic of today's webinar. And once again, thank you so much, everyone, that you are here attending this webinar. And so as you know that this webinar is brought to you by Infragistics. We at Infragistics, we are a developer tools, and we have other products. So we request you to go ahead and check our product, which is on infragistics.com, and you can download any product for 30 days free trial, and you can use them. You can give us feedback, and you can tell us that how is your experience with that product. So feel free to go to infragistics.com. And before we move ahead, let us have a couple of important points to discuss. First, please feel free to keep tweeting or keep sharing your experience on Facebook or Twitter regarding today's webinar. And while you tweet, don't forget to tag Infragistics or put hashtag Infragistics. If you do that, you may have a chance to win some goodies from us. Second point is that recording of this webinar will be available to you by Wednesday on Infragistics blog. And once recording is available, all of you will get an email notification that recording has been updated. So don't worry about that. If you have any query related to any Infragistics product, if you are looking for some assistance in sales, you want to buy something, feel free to send an email to sales-india@infragistics.com. So you may want to take a screenshot of this slide. This is very important, and let's get it started. Great. My name is Dhananjay Kumar. I am host of today's webinar, and I am a developer evangelist for Infragistics in India. I'm a 6 times Microsoft MVP. You can send me technical questions and your queries on Twitter. My Twitter handle is debug_mode. And if you don't use Twitter and you are like kind of old school and still believe in sending emails, feel free to send me email on dkumar@infragistics.com. And you can read whatever we are talking today on debugmode.net and as well as on Infragistics blog. All right, so this is all about me. And before I move ahead, I'll request you to have attention. I'll request you that if you have never heard about Ignite UI, feel free to go and check igniteui.com, which is Infragistics jQuery library. It helps you to creating high-end performance-oriented AngularJS app, Knockout.js app, ASP.NET MVC apps, and of course Bootstrap apps. So feel free to go to igniteui.com, and you can learn more about that. Please let us know how you find this library, and we would be very keen to hear from you about this. So great, this all is done, and now we are in the agenda of today's webinar. Objects, we are going to talk about object literal, we are going to talk about function constructor, we'll be seeing the revealing pattern. We'll spend some time on understanding value of this, then proto property of object, prototype value of function, inheritance, Object.Create, and so on. We'll go very slow. We will give time to each of these topics and try to understand that how they help us. Okay. So to start with, how I'm running my JavaScript today. As all of you know that JavaScript is a client-side language, and it runs in browser. I'm not going to run JavaScript today in browser. What I'm doing, I'm using Sublime Text to write JavaScript. Then I have installed Node.js on my machine, which I'm using for webinar. And Node.js is a JavaScript library which allows you to run JavaScript on the server. So I'm using goodness of Node.js, and I'm using Sublime Text to write JavaScript. And I have configured Sublime Text such that after writing my JavaScript, when I press Control B, I'm getting output right there in Sublime Text. If you are keen to configure Sublime Text and Node.js for JavaScript development, I have mentioned my one of old blog posts there, and there you can find all information about how you can configure Sublime Text for JavaScript development. Great. So here is that blog post, which you can see how to set up JavaScript build in Sublime Text. And this is very step by step. You just need to follow that, and you should be able to start working on Sublime Text. So I'm going to use Sublime Text here. I talked about Ignite UI. This is igniteui.com home, where you can go and learn about Ignite UI, how Ignite UI can help you creating charts, hierarchical grid, nested grid. It has like, you know, components which you can use with Ionic to create hybrid apps. It has cool data visualizations, OLAP, pivot, grid, and everything, layout managers. And are one of the greatest, I like it most is our page designer. You know, what our page designer does, it helps you to drag and drop jQuery component on the screen, and then it creates the JavaScript code in the back for you. So if I can quickly go and show you here our page designer, you can see that how it is creating JavaScript code in the back. Anyway, I'll come to that later. Let us go back to the purpose of today's webinar, and that is objects and JavaScript objects and inheritance in JavaScript. Well, before we move ahead, I want to set our expectation very clear that we are going to write more codes and less PPT. I don't have many slides. I have codes which I'm going to show you. So we are going to write a lot of codes today, and be ready for that. All right, so let us come to objects. Objects in JavaScript. JavaScript is a classless language, my friend. JavaScript does not have class, but you have objects. In JavaScript, you create an object out of an object. JavaScript is a prototype-based language. If you go back to your colleges and you remember that, hey, they taught us that object is nothing but instance of a class. In JavaScript, we don't have class, but we have an object. We create object as a literal. We create an object out of a function constructor, or we can create an object using Object.Create method. So let us give some time to understanding all these three approaches of creating object and when to use what. I'm going to start with Object.Create. I'm going to start with, in fact, object or literal. So here you see I have a Sublime Text on your screen. Here when I say console.log hello G, it is running. I press Control B, and here you see that I'm getting the output. So this is my output window. Here I'm getting output, and here I'll be writing my code. This is Sublime Text. Okay, here I write my code, and to run this, I'll press Control plus B. How to do that? I have already shared a blog post with you, which you can use to configure. All good? Great. So let us see that how very easily we can create an object in JavaScript. In JavaScript, you can create an object in three possible ways. The first is, of course, and the simplest way is to create an object as a literal. So let us say you want to create an object called a student. You can go here and you can say that, hey, where a student. So here you have created an object which does not have any property, and here you have created an object which does not have any property. And this object you created using as a literal. You can go ahead and add property here. Let us say student.name, and here you say DJ. And when you go and print this, Control B, oh, this is good. So the thing is, this is student.name, and when you run this, you see that you are getting the output here that DJ is printed. So in these three lines of code, there are a lot to learn. First, you can create a JavaScript object like this. While creating a JavaScript object, you really don't have to define a property. You can define a property dynamically in a JavaScript object. So you can define a property in a JavaScript object after its creation as well. So here in line number 2, we have created a JavaScript object, but we are attaching a property in line number 4, and we are using that property in line number 6. Of course, you can create a you can attach a property while creating that object as well. So in this way, you can say that, hey, where a student, in this case, you are creating an object with a property name, and when you press Control B, you are getting the output in the bottom. So you can create an object as a literal like this. You can create an object as a literal without having a property. You can create an object as a literal with the properties. Of course, this can contain more properties. So here I have, let us say, name as DJ. I'll go here. I can add more properties here. Let us say I'll say age as 33, and then I can very much go and add another object as property of the existing object. So I'll go ahead and say, hey, father name is, so what I'm saying here, that let us say father name is Ram, and occupation. So what you see here, that we have created a JavaScript object which has another JavaScript object as property of that object. This is something which you need to keep in mind. Of course, a JavaScript object can contain other JavaScript array, other complex type as a property. So here I'm setting array as a property of a student object, and the property name is subjects. I can come here and say, okay, subject name as physics, and let us say marks as 89. So here you see that what we have done, we have created a JavaScript object which has 4 properties. First, name, which is a simple string, then age, which is a numeric property, then father. Father is another JavaScript object, and that is acting as a property of a student object, and then we have a subjects property which is of the type array, and this student object is now a kind of complex object. Now you can very much go here. You have this name marks 89. Okay, so here I can go and copy paste this, and I can have one more property here, and let us say call this property subject as chemistry, and there's a mark 67. Great. So here we have the object. We have created the object. Now let us see that how we can go through and print the values in that. So we can. So now let us see that how we can iterate through, and how we can print the values. Here we can say that console.log is student.name. Then I'll say okay, console.log, and let us say student dot and father dot name. So this will print us name of the father. Here we have a property called father in line number 5, and then we are printing the value name. Now if we go and press Control B, okay, we are getting the output RAM over here, right? So in the line number 24, we are printing name of a student. Line number 25, we are printing name of father of the student. And now we can go and using the for loop, what I can do, I can go and say where I in student.subjects, console.log student.subjects, and this is the property subjects. Take that from here, student.subjects and student.subjects. I.name, it will print us all the subjects for that particular student, that is physics and chemistry. So in this way, you can iterate through all properties, you can print the properties, and you can create a normal object as a literal. Great. Now I'll wait here for 30 seconds and allow you to consolidate what you have learned. And if you have any question, feel free to use Q&A panel to let me know. I hope my voice is audible also. So please do let me know if my voice is audible to you or not. And if you have any queries, take 30 seconds and put it here. I'll try to answer them later. Oh, you can, so Prem, this is a very good question. You can use quotes, you cannot use quotes, purely your choice. Great. So here we have created a normal object. Okay. So I'll go back here. This is here what we learned so far. So we learned created an object as literal with complex properties, right? Okay. So we created an object with complex properties. Now let us go to the next learning in this var student. Okay. Now what I'm going to do here, my friend, that I will just go and get rid of all these complex properties from here. So right now I have only one var student named DJ age 33. Okay, let us get rid of this. What you can do, you can add a method to an object as well. And how you can add that, you can go here and say that student dot let us say speak equal to function and pass a message in this. Okay, and here we can go that hey, var final message is this dot name has said message. So what we are doing, we are adding a method to the object student and then passing a message parameter. Then we are creating a final message here. We can say that hey, final message this dot name. So this dot name will come from a student. So it should be DJ here has said whatever message will pass, and then we are displaying that there. Okay. Now this is a very simple speak method. Now we can call that like this. We can call this as student dot speak, and it should give us the expected output that DJ has said. Oh, we have not passed any message. So let us say pass any message here like hello IG. So here it is giving you message that hey, DJ has said hello IG, right? So what we are doing, we have created a method called speak, attached that to object student, and you notice here that inside this object, this value of this is represented by this object. So in the purpose of this demo is to show you that what is the value of this inside the method of an object. Speak is a method of a student object, and you are calling this speak here with the object student. So value of this this is equal to this student. So whoever is calling that method, value of this is assigned to that particular object. Let me show you something interesting here, and it will be more clear to you. Let me go here and create one more function here, one more object here. So you see line number 13 what I am doing. In line number 13 I have created a new object called var parents name, and I'm setting the value as Ram, whereas for the student we have value of name as DJ. Okay, now what I'm going to do here, that instead of directly calling a student or speak hello IG, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the apply method of JavaScript. Apply method allows us to pass the value of this. So what I'm doing here in line number 19, that hey, student.speak apply and pass parents as the value of this. So here we are passing this parent as a value of this, and then this message as a parameter. I am the best here. Now inside this particular speak method, value of this will be equal to this parent object. So the output should be DJ Ram has said I'm the best. So let us go ahead and run this, and here you see that output is Ram has said I'm the best. So your learning should be that whoever is calling this particular method, the value of this is assigned to that particular object. So I hope this particular demo is clear to you. Again, let us take a 15-second quick break, and if you have any query, feel free to put that in the question panel, and I'll try to answer that. Okay, so very good. It's very good question so because your answer, parent is nothing but an object, the another object, and I want to pass that object as the value of this inside this speak method. So I created that object parents. You can give it any name here. Instead of parent, you can call it foo and pass here foo. It should have exactly the same output. Okay, Vikas. Then Ravi is asking you in what context apply is used. Very good question, Ravi. We use apply when we need to pass value of this explicitly. In this case, if you call a student.speak directly, the value of this get assigned to a student object. We want to pass value of this to some other object. In this case, foo. That's why we are using apply. I hope it is clear. Sumit, right now I'm not going into apply, call, and bind in detail because that is not in the agenda. We got a lot to cover, but feel free to reach me later. I'll definitely explain you that. But just keep in mind that apply, call, and bind are used to call functions in JavaScript. And when you call a function using apply, call, and bind, that is known as indirect invocation pattern, and it allows you to pass value of this manually. Okay, so that's in the nutshell. Okay, line number 19. No, I'm not extending anything. I'm just calling the Rajesh. I'm just calling the function. Uh, mm, I'm just calling the function. Okay, so that's what demo is, Vivek. That I'm not mentioning foo.name, but inside this speak method, the value of this all automatically get assigned to whatever object you are passing. So you don't have to pass it explicitly. That's the demo all about, my friend. Okay, so let's very good queries. Let's go to the next demo now. I'll go back here and say that we learned this in function method. Okay, now let us go ahead to our next demo, and this is going to be very interesting. Now I'm going to show you something about, we are going to learn about object properties in details. I'll go ahead and get rid of everything. So here I have deleted everything. Okay. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to create an object called var_cat. So here you see that I have created an object called cat, which has property name and color. Of course, you can access a property called console.log. You can go here and say that, hey, console.log cat.color. So when you run this program, you are going to get output white. So what I'm trying to show you here, that you can access property using the dot operator. JavaScript also allows you to access property using the braces. So you can very much go here and say console.log cat, and then you can use the square bracket and pass a property name, and you will get exactly the same output in the bottom. So JavaScript allows you to call using the dot operator, a property, and using the square braces. Okay, now you may have a question that, hey, why we need a square bracket when we can use this square bracket, when we should use this square bracket over the dot operator, right? Imagine that sometimes this property, as you see in the beginning, that properties in JavaScript object gets assigned dynamically. So anytime you can go and assign some property here, right? So I can go ahead and say that cat dot, let us say cat dot hair color. I don't know whether cat has hair or not. Let us say cat dot hair color equal to red. You can assign that property here, and you can very much go and say that console.log and hair color, and this will print value for you. So this is good. But what if instead of this hair color, this hair color is a valid identifier, but this value is coming from some database, or your user is entering this value, and user wants to enter this value with the space like this hair space color. Now if you go and run this, you are going to get exception, because it will say that, hey, there is some unexpected identifier. In line number 12, it is saying that you cannot assign value like this. But if you have a requirement, what you can do, you can replace this dot with a curly with a square bracket, and now cut dot hair color, and here also you can very much read that value like this. So now if you go and run this, you should get the expected output. Now it should be clear that why we need a square bracket mechanism also to read properties of a JavaScript object. So keep in mind that you can read a property using dot and square bracket. Okay, so quickly maximum 5-second break here. Any question on this? Great. Let me move ahead. Next, what I'm going to show you that what if you got you got you got to make a particular property as a read-only property of your object. So, for example, I have here name, foo, color, white, console.log, uh, cat.color. I can very much come here and say that, hey, cat dot name equal to change this name to ku, and we can very much do that. And again, I can go ahead and print this value here. So here you see that sorry, so it is name and then it is also name. So here I have changed the value. JavaScript is not complaining about that. So I can, my properties are not read only. I can very much update properties whenever required. So how we can make it read only, and how we can get information about properties of a object, and how you can do that. Here you can go ahead. You have two properties. Let me just go and show you that how you can. So you can say that, hey, object dot get own property descriptor. What we are saying that, hey, what is the property descriptor for the cat object name property? When you go ahead and run this, it is telling you that this particular property name value of that property is set to foo. In the bottom, please notice, and it is writable is true. Writable true means anyone can go ahead and update this value. Enumerable true means anyone can create JSON out of that, can enumerate that, and configure equal to true. So these three properties, writable, enumerable, and configurable, are very important properties on JavaScript object properties. We should be very clear like how to use writable, enumerable, and configurable, and how we can use them to make an object property read only, make an object property not enumerable and not configurable, right? So here you see that it is saying that, hey, for the name property value is foo, and it is writable true, enumerable true, configurable true. Very much if you go here and change this name to color, you'll get very much same output, because for that also here the value is white and other writable true, everything is set to true. So if I want to make a property as a read-only property, what I can do, I'll go ahead and say that object.define property for the cat object for the name property writable to false. So now if I go here and show you and run it, you see now it is in the output, it is saying you that writable is false. So what I have done, I have used in line number 9 define property, passing object name, passing property name, and setting writable equal to writable false. Okay, now if you go ahead here and try to set cat dot name equal to some other value, ku, okay, and then print it console.log cat dot name, and I'll print this here as well. So here we are printing cat.name, that we are defining the writable as false, and then again setting cat.name as equal to ku. And then when we are pressing Control B, you see I'm not getting any exception. Okay, but it has not updated the value. Can you notice here? I have the name value is foo. I have set writable as false. Okay, I have updated value here, but it is not updating. It is giving me the same value foo. What's happening? JavaScript is not complaining that, hey, you cannot modify this value, but it is not modifying also. If you want JavaScript to complain about that, hey, this value is not updatable, use strict mode. And now if you go and run, here you see that you are getting the exception. That exception is saying that, hey, exception is saying that you cannot update that particular value. Great. So I hope now it is clear to you that when to use writable. So you can use writable false to make a property as read-only property. Great. Now let me go back here and say that we just learned object.define property writable. Okay. And also we learned about object.get property descriptor. Anyway, so here we have covered 5 topics. I'll go to enumerable, but before that, if you have any query, feel free to use Q&A panel and ask that. Strict mode is you saw that we were not getting error even though we were modifying value of a read-only property, but JavaScript was not complaining about that. If you run your JavaScript in strict mode, it will throw you exception. So actually JavaScript running JavaScript in strict mode makes JavaScript more strict and more kind of strongly typed language. Ravi, I'm coming to configurable property in a while. Okay, so let's go back to again code, and we have learned about writable property. Now let us go ahead and learn about enumerable property. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to modify my cat. So what I'm saying that where cat first name is DJ, last name is Kumar. So I'm not a cat, it's just I have taken the example, and the color is white. So this is my object. Now let us go ahead and try to display all the value of this object, which you can do like this: for var property name in cat console.log property name and then cat property name. Now when you run this, here you see that what it is saying that, hey, that name is object, of course, because if you want to print that, then you have to use either first and last, and then color is white. So this is the expected output, and what it is doing here, that it is enumerating all the properties of cat, and that is what is expected. Now let us say that we don't want name to be enumerable. What we'll do, we'll go ahead and say that, hey, object.define property on the cat object, for the name make enumerable equal to false. So in line number 11, what I have done, I have made enumerable equal to false. Now if you go and run this, you see that it is only showing you the color property. JavaScript is not showing you name property. This is very important, my friend. If I go and change it to true again and run it again, you see it is saying name object and color white. So all the properties are enumerable. But if I go ahead and change it to false, it will make only it will not enumerate the name property. So this is very important here, and it is, since we have made it false, if you go here and say that console.log and show me all the keys of this particular object.keys return you all the properties. I'll get rid of this console.log object.keys cat, and if you now run this, it is showing you that, hey, you have only one property color in the cat object, whereas you have name property as well. So if you go and change this to true and run it again, it is showing you that you have name property and color property. Can you see in the bottom? So enumerable is very, very important. It restricts a particular property to be enumerated. It is very, very important if you make it true. And I'll go ahead and say that, hey, just create the JSON of this particular object. Line number 13, what I'm saying the JSON.stringify cat. Now if I go and run this, you see that it has created the JSON object in the bottom, and JSON object has name property and the color property, right? Now if I go and make this enumerable as false, and you will be very happy to see now when I'm creating JSON of the cat object, and since I have made name as false in the JSON, it is only putting the color property, it is not putting name property. So enumerable is very important, my friend. And now I hope it is clear to you. Define property is very simple. Configure property is very simple. If I go here and say that, hey, object dot define property cat name configurable false, it means after this line I cannot do anything with that particular property. So here I'm setting that object dot define property cat name configurable false, and line number 12 I'm trying to set enumerable equal to false. I'll do Control B. You see that I'm getting here error that, hey, I cannot configure it because configurable is set to false. But if I put it true, I should be able to configure it. And here you see that I'm getting the output. So that is the purpose of configurable and enumerable. I hope it is clear to you. If you have any query, you have 10 seconds to ask that. Writable only allows you to make a particular property read only, whereas configurable allows you to block that to lock that particular property. You cannot configure that property for anything. For example, if I have a property, I don't want to change any of its behavior. Like I don't want to make it enumerable, I don't want to make it writable, I don't want user to later change any of his behavior. I'll set configurable equal to false. It means that property is not configurable. Only you can set value, that's it. Whereas if configurable equal to true, you have other two properties like enumerable and writable. Writable, true false makes a property read only, write only, and enumerable makes whether you want to enumerate it or not enumerate it. Okay. Okay, so this is good. Let us move further. I'll go here and write that we have learned about object.keys. We learned about object.configurable. We learned about object.enumerable, and enumerable is something which I personally use many times in my project, right? I have a complex object and I don't want every property of that object to be converted to JSON, which I need to send somewhere. I use object.enumerable, and that is very handy. Great. So we have covered almost everything in object properties and object as literal. So let us go back to our slide once again. And as you remember that we can create an object in three possible ways. We so far covered only one object as literal and all the properties around that. Now let us see that how we can use an object to create a function construct using a function. Okay, so let us go back. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, I'll get rid of everything. Let us say I have a function here called person, which is taking two parameter name and age. Then I'm setting this dot name equal to name, this dot age equal to age, then this dot message function. Then I'm in console log this, and then console dot log this dot name is this dot age years old. It's a very simple function. Now, if you want to create this function, use this function as a constructor, what you can do, you can use a new operator, which is very simple. You can come here and say that, hey, var person1 equal to new person DJ32, var person2 new person MJ34. So since you are using new operator here, what it is doing, this person function is returning an object. And that object is getting assigned to person1 and person2. So when you call person1.message, it will first in this console display you the object which got constructed, and then it will display you that message. Now let us go ahead and run this. Here everything is good here. Name DJ is 32 message function, DJ is 32 years old. Name MJ is 34 message function, MJ is 34 years old. What you should be focusing here, that for all the objects we have this message function. What if we don't want to do that? We want this message function to be shared across object. Right now, JavaScript is creating this message method for all the objects of person. If you want to share it across the objects, we need to attach this message method with the prototype of function. I'm coming into prototype into the detail later in the webinar. But as of now, what you can very much do that, you can go and change that. Here you can say that, hey, person.prototype that message, and get rid of this, and then exactly same. Now if you go and run this, you see that you in the object you don't have message method, you have message method outside the message method being shared across the object. So that is the purpose of prototype. What is prototype? I'm coming into detail, just hold on that, but you can understand how we are using prototype here. Inside this method, keep in mind, again, I'm coming to the value of this, which is very important. Inside this method message, value of this is represented by the object which is calling it. So here in the message is being called by person1, so the value of this is equal to person1. For line number 72, message is being called by person2, so value of this is person2. So always the object which is calling the method is representing the value of this. Now let us go ahead and see that right now you can go here and say that, hey, person1 dot name equal to, you can change it to foo and say console.log person1.name. Okay, so what's happening here is that you can very much change the name of the person, because that these particular properties are the public properties. Of course, you can use writable here, you can use writable property. If you are getting an object using object literal or object.create, you can use object.define writable to create the private properties. But in case of function, how you can do that? In case of function, you can create private variables in two possible ways. One, you can just say that, hey, var name equal to name. Now this name okay, so now when you say that, hey, var foo equal to name, it will create that particular function, a particular property as a private property. The other way to do that is, which is actually you should be doing, is you have this dot name is, this dot is, we call it as a revealing pattern, and here you say that, hey, I want to return only this particular property. Public variable this dot name is this dot is years old. Now here you can go and I'll get rid of this property here. You can go here, name new person DJ32, and here you can say that person1 dot pub var, and it should able to give you the output. Okay, and then you can say console.log a. So how you are creating the private and public variable here, that if you are explicitly returning something, whatever property you are returning inside this, that particular becomes the public, this public property for this particular function, and other becomes the private property. Great. Now I'm coming to something very, very important. Let us get rid of this, and I'll come here and say that we just covered private using return. Now I'm going to talk to you about prototype. Heard about prototype? Yeah, so the question, let me just take some question before I move. Very good question, Ramesh. I'm coming to prototype in detail just now. Okay, so let us go here. Okay. Yes, name is a readable property. You are right, Ravi Krishna. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a function here. Okay, the function name is foo, which is taking a parameter name and then saying this dot name equal to name. Okay, a very simple function. Now, when you create a function in JavaScript, what JavaScript does, it assigns a prototype object to that function. What I mean by that, let us go here and say that var foo pro equal to foo.prototype. Here you see that I have a function foo, and then I'm assigning this foo.prototype to foo pro, and when I go and run this, it will give me an empty object. So whenever you create a JavaScript object, my friend, I'm just coming to that. So every JavaScript function has a prototype property. This slide is very important. Every JavaScript function has a prototype property. So when you create a JavaScript function, there is a prototype property, and that is nothing but an object. So in the previous code, what I did, I created a function called foo, and then I'm assigning that foo.prototype to a variable, and then I displayed that on the console. We got an empty object. So it's saying that every function has a prototype property. A function prototype is the object instance which eventually become prototype of all the objects created using that function constructor. So right now we have that foo function. If we use that foo function to create another object using new operator, all other objects prototype will become the prototype the function foo. So object does not have prototype property. Function has the prototype property. Object does not have prototype property. Keep that in mind. So in previous step, we created a function, created objects using object literals that don't have prototype property, whereas functions has prototype property. So function prototype value is an object instance which will become prototype of all the objects created using this function as a constructor. Let me give you demo on that, and then I'll come back to this slide again. Okay, so let me give you a demo on that, and I'll come back to this slide. So here you see that I'm assigning this foo.prototype to foo pro, and I'm getting an empty object here. So it's saying that it is that whenever you create a function, there's a prototype value get assigned to that particular function, and by default that is an empty object. Okay, now let us go ahead and create two objects. Okay, so what I'm doing, I'm creating two objects, foo obj new foo mj and new var foo obj 2 new foo dj. So I have two objects here, foo obj 1 and foo obj 2. Okay, now what I'm going to do, so I have here, I'll come here and say that console.log foo obj1.pro prototype. Okay, I told you that prototype is property of function. Prototype is not property of object. Right now, if I go and run this, I'm getting undefined. Undefined because prototype does not, object does not have prototype property. Okay, so if object has something called proto. Now if I go and run this, you see that I have two objects here. Okay, now go back here again to take this and say foo obj2.proto. Again, it will be an empty. So see, value of all these foo pro, foo obj1 and foo obj2 is same. The foo obj1.proto and foo pro is same. What I'm going to do, let us go here and say that foo dot prototype dot, let us say, is equal to 33. Okay, and now if you go back and run this again, you see that we have console.log proto 33, console.log for foo object 33, and if I come here and print value of foo.proto prototype, this should be also age 33. So keep in mind, prototype is a property of function, foo is a function, and proto is property of object. Foo obj1 and foo obj2 is an object. Okay, if you say foo dot proto, probably you will not get expected output. See, you are not getting the expected output here. Okay, so what I mentioned in the slide, let us go ahead and say last thing, if foo obj2 dot proto equal to foo dot prototype. Okay, then console.log as true. So now if I go and run this, here we are getting the output true. What it is saying, that prototype of the function becomes prototype of all the object which got created using that function. Let us go back to that slide again. It's not tough. Function prototype value is an object instance which will become prototype of all the objects created using this function as constructor. So go back here, this foo.prototype.age, this function foo has a prototype, right, which is set as age 33. What if we are saying all the objects which will get created using this function foo will have the same prototype as of the function prototype, right? So we have the two objects, foo obj1 and foo obj2. Their prototype value can be read using foo obj.proto and foo obj.proto, and function prototype value can be read using foo.prototype. So when we are printing these three values, we are getting exactly the same output. Okay, and here if I'm doing the comparison that whether foo obj.2.proto is equal to foo.prototype or not, I'm getting the true as an output. So this is how this prototype of function works, and that you should keep in mind. This is very important. Don't get confused with underscore proto underscore and prototype. Prototype is property of function, whereas proto is property of an object. Whenever you create a function, it has a prototype property that gets assigned to an empty object, and whenever you create any object using that function, the value proto value of that object will be equal to prototype value of the function which you have used as the constructor to create that object. Am I making sense here? JavaScript is not that easy, my friend. Any question on prototype of function? I'll give you 20-second time. Just go through this slide. If you have any question, please feel free to ask that. This is very important slide. What happened to this dot name in foo? Nothing happened, right? When you create an object of, I mean, that is there as it is. What should happen to that? I mean, I did not understand your question. What is this? This dot name is name. That's the property. You can go ahead and print here. Oh, come on, man. It's super simple. Console.log foo obj1.name. Here you are getting that. Is it clear, Prem? Great. Object property can be same as function property. I'm not getting that question. Could you be more descriptive? Great. So let's go to the next demo. So Ravi, this is a very good question, right? So what Ravi is asking me that, hey, what if I go here and say foo obj2 dot is equal to, let us say, 40. What is the value of 40 here, right? What happened to is? And Ravi, thank you so much for bringing this question. This is very important concept. What is happening that whenever what JavaScript does, it creates copy of the prototype whenever you use that to create an object. So it is not going to override. What it is going to do that, it is going to assign a new property called is to foo obj2. So now foo obj2, since you can dynamically assign an object property to an object, now foo obj2 has a property called is, and if you want to check that, you can go and say has on. You can use has on property to check that whether age is property of foo obj2 or foo. You'll find age is property of foo obj2. So if you do that, it is not going to affect prototype. Prototype has age equal to 33. Other objects which will get created, they will have age equal to 33. But if they give their own definition of the age, their own value for the age, they'll have their own value. Okay, Ravi, in next demo it would be more clear. Okay, so let us go and see that how we can use Proto. So third is we covered prototype in function. Okay, now let us go and see that how we can use Proto for inheritance. Okay, so let us say I have an object called animal which has two properties. It's true and can run function console.log. You can run, and then I have another object called where dog can bark equal to true. So I have two objects, animal and dog. If I want to make animal as a parent of dog, how I can do that? Both are object literal. So what I can do, I can very easily go here and say that, hey, dog.proto equal to animal. So what I have done here, that I'm saying that dog.proto equal to animal. Then I can say console.log dog.its. Now dog has the its property, and now dog has the can run property. So if I go ahead and run it, you see now dog has access to the properties of animal. So if you are using object property, object literal, you can use Proto to create a parent, the parent for an object. Okay, now let us go here, and so how JavaScript does. JavaScript, so here what you are doing, you are trying to print its. JavaScript will first search its property in the dog. If it will find it, it will show you. use it. If it does not find, JavaScript will go to the proto value of dog. In this case, proto value of dog is animal, and JavaScript will find that property, it will print that. If JavaScript will not find that, it will go to the proto of animal and so on, unless it will reach to the value null. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to what I'm going to do here, dog.animal dog.can run, and in the can run method, let us go ahead, and this is very important. Instead of this console.log, what I'm saying, I'm creating a property, new property called this.isCute equal to yes. Then var dog can bark true, dog.proto, dog.is can run, and if I go and run it, is dog.is true is coming. Okay. Now let us go back, and what you do here after this can run, what I'm saying that, hey, var flag dog has own property is cute, console.flag true, it is going to give us output true. Why? Because inside this, you remember from our previous discussion, the value of this is always assigned to the object which is calling that function. So here can run is being called by dog. Okay, so value of this is equal to dog here. So value of this is equal to dog here. So what JavaScript is doing, JavaScript is creating a property called dog dot use cute and assigning that value to yes. So that's why when we are checking that whether dog has its own property is cute, has own property, returns true if that property is property of the same object, not property of its prototype and parent objects. So here that's why it is returning true, because JavaScript treating dog as a this here and attaching that is cute to that. And this is very important. You need to keep that in mind, that regardless the value of prototype, regardless value of proto, always the value of this is assigned to the object which is calling that particular method. Always a value of this is assigned to that object which is before the dot operator. And this is very important. Let me go and show you one more demo of this, which will make things more clear to you. I'm saying var foo c is add, then add function this dot c equal to this dot c plus 1. Very simple JavaScript object. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm creating another object called ku using Object.Create. I'll talk about Object.Create later. Okay, then I'm saying that, hey, ku.c value is 99. Keep in mind here the value of c is 8, whereas here the value of c is 99. Then I'm using this ku object to call that add method. What output we are expecting? We are expecting output 100 here, because value of this is ku and the value of c property is 99, which you can see from here, and we are getting the output 100. The message which I'm trying to convey you is that value of this is always assigned to the object which is calling the method. It does not care about the prototype and proto value. Great. So my friend, any question on this? Oh, not really. I'm just taking an example, Mohammed. So let us take 5-second break and go to the next demo. Okay, all right. Now we have just covered here prototype in function. Then we have covered proto in objects. Also, we have covered this value in prototype. Great. Now let us see that how you can create inheritance using the prototype value. So what I'm going to do, I have a function here called employee. and this function has a property called name, which is getting assigned, and then I'm getting an object e new employee DJ. And if I go, and it's a very simple function, I'll go here and say that console.log e dot name. What it will do, it will give me the output DJ. It's a very simple function. Now let us say that we have another function called super employee, which has a property salary, and we are setting that this dot salary equal to salary. Now we want to set the property of super employee to the object of employee. And how we can set that? You can set that like this: super employee dot prototype equal to e. And now when you create an object of super employee, it has access to the name property, and if you run this, you're getting the output name DJ. So I have a function called employee, then an object using that function constructor e, then I have a function called super employee. I'm setting prototype of super employee to the object e such that I have access to name. Then when I'm creating object of super employee, that has access to name, that's why I'm getting the output DJ here. Let us say that you are moving this particular line after this. So what you are doing, you have created object, and then after you are setting value of prototype. In this case, you are going to get undefined because you are setting the prototype after object got created. You got to set the prototype before object got created. Then only JavaScript will able to set that to the correct object. Okay, so if you have a function, you should use prototype to create inheritance. If you have object literal, you should use the proto to create inheritance. And the third approach is to use Object.Create to create objects and inheritance, which I'm going to show you next. Okay, so we just covered prototyping function. Okay, so let me scroll up the screen, and you have 5 seconds to ask questions on this, my friend. Great. Now let us see that how we can work with Object.Create. So what I'm going to do, you can create an object using Object.Create like this: Object.Create, Object.Prototype, foo.name DJ, foo.age33, and console.log foo.name. So what it is doing, it is taking we are creating an object in line number 1 using Object.Create. Object.Create takes 2 parameters. You can pass the property here also, or as optional parameter, or as I did, you can attach property later. First property should be an object. Either you can pass Object.Prototype or you can pass null as well. If you pass null, then it will not have access to the prototype of object like toString, and all those method would not be available to you. So always it is good to pass Object.Prototype. So this is the one way to create an object. If you want to inherit another object, you can pass that object there. So for example, I have foo Object.Create, Object.Prototype, foo.name DJ, foo.age33, console.log foo.name. I can go here and create another object called coo, and in the coo, what I'm saying that I create that object, cloning the object foo, and then I'm setting coo.grade A and coo.name coo is coo grade, and press Ctrl B. You see it has access to all the properties. So Object.Create is the simplest is simplest syntax to create an object and create an inheritance in JavaScript. Now putting all things together, now I'm going to write a function which will help you to creating objects in Java, creating inheritance in JavaScript. So let us say that I have a function here called var inherit function child parent. Will pass a child function object, will pass a parent object, and then we are setting child.prototype equal to Object.Create parent.prototype. This inherit function will create inheritance between 2 objects which will pass here. Okay, after that I have a very simple object here, var foo function. This dot name is class foo. Then foo.prototype.print function, console.log this dot name. Then var f new equal to foo f.print. So you have already seen it, and no point to guess that when you run this, you'll get output class foo. So I have created a function called inherit. Then I have a function foo. Then I'm assigning print to the prototype of foo. and then I'm creating that object f new foo and f dot print. So this is a normal function, and it is showing me class foo. Now what I have another function called foo child. Okay, so foo child has two functions, name and surname. Now I want to make sure that foo child inherit the foo. And how I can do that? How I can do that by calling the inherit function, and I'm passing foo child and foo. So here what's happening, foo child dot prototype equal to object.create foo dot prototype. So now foo child has access to the print function here, right? So now if you go ahead and create an object of foo child, you see it has access to print. Now if you press, it is showing you that class foo and foo child. One thing is missing here, that in the foo child we have surname. However, in the foo print we are only printing name. What if we want to print surname also? If we want to print surname also, we got to override the print functionality, and we can override that. Here we say foo child.property.print function, and then you need to call the print function of the parent by foo.prototype.print.call this and console.log this.surname. Now if you go and run this, you see you have class foo, then foo child, I am the child of foo. All these things are getting covered. So essentially you got only one function in which you are setting child.prototype equal to object.create parent.prototype. So this is very important line to create inheritance. And to override, while overriding, you got to make sure that you call constructor function method as well, like this foo.prototype.print.call this, such that all in the inheritance chain, all parents print function is getting called. And in this way you can create an inheritance chain. So this is it from my side. We have just covered prototyping function. We have covered object.create, and also we created a inheritance chain. So we covered 15 topics today, which are good. Now let us take 5 minutes to answer your questions. Feel free to ask questions, and if you are not able to coming along, this recording will be available for you by Wednesday, and also you will find blog post on Infragistics blog on the same. Before I end this, I will once again want to draw your attention that if you have anything question related to Infragistics sales, feel free to reach us to sales_India sales-India at infragistics.com. If you have any technical queries, send me email at dkumar@infragistics.com. And all our products are free for 30 days trial, which you can download from infragistics.com. And now I'm open for questions. Once again, thank you so much everyone for attending today's webinar. I hope this was useful. JavaScript object and inheritance are very important concept. We covered a lot of topics today. If I go back to our notes, we started with object literal, then covered all the properties, property descriptor, keys, enumerable, configurable, writable. Then we went to prototyping function, function constructor, object.create, inheritance chain. And trust me, only one thing you need to keep in mind, that in JavaScript, function and objects are two different things. When you create an object as a literal or object.create, they have a proto property which you can assign and which you can use to create inheritance chain. Whereas when you create a function has a prototype property that gets assigned to an object, which can be used, which acts as a prototype for objects which being used, which are created using that function. To make read-only properties and all, use writable or use revealing pattern, etc. So I hope you find today's webinar useful. Feel free to, whether you like it, you did not like it, if you want us to improve somewhere, send us email regarding the same. And I hope it was useful for you. Now I'm open for questions, my friend. So Ravi is confused. As you have mentioned, object will have proto. How are you able to use prototype? Please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not using prototype with object, Ravi. Which code you are talking about? Nowhere I'm using prototype with object. Whenever dot prototype, it is with functions. Oh, I see. Good questions. So Ravi, you can say, so Ravi, you can send me last demo. Last demo is here. So I have. Can you tell me which line number, Ravi? Okay, so I see no questions, and thank you so much once again, everyone, for joining today webinar. You guys were very interactive. Thank you so much, and I'm very hopeful and excited to see you in next webinar. Feel free to reach us on email which we shared. Share your experience on Twitter, share your experience on email, and I hope it was useful. Once again, thank you so much. In next 2 minutes, I'm going to close the webinar. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today webinar once again. Thank you.